Here are 10 green flags that you should be looking for in people when you're dating in your 30s. Honestly, these green flags are pretty important for like every age group, but I'm going to be talking about them specifically from the perspective of being in your 30s. Now, if you stay until the end, you are going to hear about some green flags that I don't think you're going to be expecting from me, because I'm actually going to share something I don't think I've ever shared before, especially publicly, but I pretty much think I've only spoken to my therapist about this. So you guys are going to be getting an exclusive. The first green flag is emotional maturity. Now, I really hope that you guys were expecting to hear about this green flag, because emotional maturity is so important and yet so often missed when people are dating. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. This should be in the top priorities when you are looking for somebody. This is an absolutely must definitely have. When you're dating, you should never ever be assuming the role of a parent in the relationship, which is why maturity, especially emotionally, is so vital. You are not that boy's mama, so stop trying to micromanage everything in his life and making things so easy for him. And bro, you are not a replacement for that girl's dad. The topic of emotional maturity is a massive subject, and I don't have time to go into every single point that I would love to make about it. But if someone is not able to manage their emotions well or in a mature way, then they will literally suck the life force out of you if you get into a relationship with them. And I think in our 30s in particular, a lot of us just don't have time for that. Emotional maturity should be something that we all strive to grow in, that we're always working on, because it's a lifelong journey. No one is going to get it all completely right, but you need to find someone who is at least at the same kind of level you are, and always looking to grow in it. So emotional maturity should be a massive green flag that you should be always looking for whenever you're trying to date anybody. Green flag number 2, healthy times together and apart. It is 100% important that when you are dating someone, that you can both enjoy time together and time apart. So whoever you're with, if they're someone who cannot stand being away from you even for one night, and is like absolutely being a grade A clinger, then that's not gonna be healthy for the relationship, and you're probably gonna get sick of it pretty quick. But equally, if you're with a dude who actually doesn't ever wanna be around you and you guys spend like zero quality time together, then that's also going to hinder a relationship, and it's kind of destined to fail, honestly. It's really healthy to be able to enjoy time apart from each other. You know, give the guy or girl time to miss you. I promise you, absence really does make the heart grow fonder. You know what? It'll actually keep things spicy, and it'll keep the butterflies in the relationship, which is always nice to keep hold of for as long as you can. And on the other side, quality time is super important when you're trying to build a healthy relationship. So make sure when you're seeing someone or you're in a serious relationship, make sure there's a balance. Green flag number 3, they ask you questions about yourself. Now, this is a green flag that you should be looking out for on date 1, or maybe even before you get to the date and you're just talking to them. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble saying this, but you know, we're gonna take a risk here. During my brother's dating escapades, I was shocked and appalled at the amount of times that Nick came back to me for like a debrief, because you know, he likes to know what his sister thinks. He would tell me girl after girl after girl would sit in front of him and literally the entire date for like 2 or 3 hours nonstop talk about herself. This is not an exaggeration, because this happened way more than once. He would ask her all the questions. Like, these girls would literally not ask him one question about himself. It is so important when you are talking to someone or going on a date. It's really key to find someone who genuinely wants to get to know you and is interested in you. I know that we're talking about green flags, but a red flag is when someone is super self-involved, because that's not probably gonna change. It is such a good thing to find someone who asks you questions. I'm talking about quality questions. I'm not just talking about what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? You know, as you date, you're going to find that a lot of people just like the sound of their own voice, honestly. Look for a great question asker. And I'm not just talking about someone always asking questions about yourself, but find someone who's a good conversationalist. Like, for me, that's very high on my list of green flags that I'm looking out for, and that for me is an absolute must. Because no matter how old you are, if someone is really good at asking questions and engaging with you and just being able to conversate, that is something that will never grow old. Looks fade, humor can change, life can flip upside down, but No matter how old you are, whether you're 99 years old, having good conversations together will stand the test of time. Green flag number 4, they don't judge you for the things that you choose to be vulnerable to them about. Maybe you're like me and you have like 100-foot thick wall around you. You have a high security system. You have a guard cat. I am built like a fortress. That's not something I'm super proud of. And I've been trying to learn to be more vulnerable and more open. Maybe you're like me and it takes you a while to open up and maybe share things that have happened to you, or maybe explain things that you've actually done. If you get to the point where you trust someone enough to open up yourself like a little bit more, really pay attention to how they react when you share such personal things. That will be a huge test and a huge insight to the type of person they are. Do they give you looks, or do they make little comments? Or do they really embrace you for your vulnerability and even thank you for trusting them with that information? Number 5, they show kindness and empathy towards you and others. I will never forget my dad telling me over and over again, Victoria, find a man who is kind. Looks fade. Life can change and turn upside down. And, humor is great, but kindness is something that lasts a lifetime. And kindness is not the same as being nice. Someone who is nice is, pleasant to be around. They're nice to others. They don't rock the boat. They're polite, and all that is great. But kindness is a condition of the heart. Also, empathy and compassion for others is a massive green flag. And I think they kind of all go together. Those things are a massive turn on. Actions speak louder than words. So don't get drawn into just only what someone is saying to you. Look at their actions. Pay attention to what they do and what they say consistently, because everyone can fake it for a while, and I've seen guys fake it for a long time, but at some point they crack and their true character and their true self shows. So make sure you're paying attention. Number 6, intellectual compatibility. Bro, this is such a huge green flag for me, and I really hope that it is for you too. The amount of dudes that I've spoken to that look great on paper, but actually it's like talking to a dense block of wood, and that is no exaggeration. And the most hilarious thing is that I don't think a lot of these guys are actually dumb, but they are so intellectually lazy. And I think this happens because they spend their days talking to really shallow women who just like to talk about themselves all the time and have no drive or ambition for anything. And so they just get used to that. But an intellectually lazy guy is one of the biggest turnoffs for me. I think the sexiest thing, aside from a guy who is kind, is intellect, is smarts, is someone who can hold an intelligent conversation. And I think this actually goes back to the point of finding someone who is a good conversationalist. I want to have intelligent conversations with a guy, even if we haven't even gotten to the first date. If I'm talking to him and it's dead in the water, there is nothing there, then I just bounce. I don't know if you're like me, but I am actually really scared of getting into a relationship and being bored because, oftentimes it doesn't happen straight away, but it does eventually happen. And I think in reality, it probably happens to everyone at some point, especially if you've been married years and years. There is going to be a place where things kind of feel a little bit stale and you get a little bit bored. And so this is why I think it is so important to find someone who you are compatible intellectually with. Because even when you guys do hit that rocky road, there is still substance there. Green flag number 7, you can sit in silence with them. It is so important that you are comfortable in silence with whoever you're with. It's really key to be around somebody where there's no need or no pressure to always fill the air with talking or constantly having to be busy and doing stuff. That gets exhausting. And honestly, that gives me anxiety when people are pressurizing me to always be talking and doing stuff. No. I am mainly an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, but I get my energy being away from people. And I also enjoy being in a room and being social, but also watching other people, not talking, but listening. That is something I like to do. So I don't really want to be with someone who can't stand being in silence. I think it's healthy for everyone, even if you do enjoy talking and being an extrovert and doing stuff. I think it's really important, though, to have balance. Really important to learn to just be. I think it's beautiful when couples can just be in the same room doing completely different things in silence, but just enjoying being in each other's presence. That is goals right there. Number 8, someone who always wants to keep growing in life with you. A person who is always learning and evolving in life is so freaking hot. My dad always used to say to me, never ever stop learning. Doesn't matter how old you are, you could be 120 years old, but never stop learning. Find you someone who wants to go through life with you, learning, growing, and evolving together. And who wants to spend time talking about their dreams and their life goals and their passions. I don't know who needs to hear this, but find someone who is not looking to just settle in life, to settle for the mediocre life. I also think, and this might be a controversial take, but I think it's important to find someone who has similar life goals to you. Now, I'm not talking about you guys have to have the same job and you have to have exactly the same dream or it's not going to work. No, I'm not. But you want to be compatible with them if this is going to be for the long haul. You guys have to have the same wants in life. For example, if your dream is creating a Fortune 500 company in the US and being super successful in that way, but actually the girl is like, I feel called to go to Africa and serve in an orphanage. In that example, and I've seen this happen, someone is going to have to sacrifice their dream in order to keep the relationship. Now, I'm not saying that this could never ever work, and if that's you and you guys want two completely different things, then your relationship is doomed to fail. I'm not. But I have seen a lot of relationships end further down the road because their life goals were literally completely opposite, and resentment builds, especially for the person who has had to sacrifice a life dream or a life goal that they have. Now, I think this particular green flag has only really become valuable to me in my 30s. It's really not something I would have initially put so much importance in my 20s. But, with a little bit more experience in life and looking at other people's relationships, I think it's important for at least number 1, you guys look to always continue to grow and evolve and change together, but that you also have similar life goals. Number 9, honesty and trust. This kind of seems like an obvious one, right? Well, some of you are not using this as a green flag. This is literally a no-brainer, but I've seen a lot of people choose relationships where there is no trust and people are not honest with each other. If the person is not honest and trustworthy, they gotta go. If you can find someone who is both honest and kind, then you have found gold. You do not want a yes man or a girl who just agrees with everything, but you also don't want a critical liar. Trust me, you don't want that. Find you someone who makes you feel safe as a whole and who will tell you the truth in love. Girl, find someone to trust. Stop talking to that guy who you cannot trust and who lies to your face and you know it, but you don't want to admit it. And your gut is telling you to run. Now, I'm about to share something real juicy, so buckle up. The 10th green flag that you should be looking for is someone who accepts you for who you are and not who you are going to be. This is a very big green flag for me, especially now. And I'm about to share something that I've never really said before and that I think possibly only my therapist, my mom know, but it's a insecurity of mine. The reason why I want to share it is maybe one of you can relate to this. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. As someone with health issues, and if you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to know more about my health story, then you can click on the link up here. So as someone who is chronically sick and who has a lot of different health issues and complications, I want someone who's going to accept my situation as it is now. And they're not just with me because they think that one day down the road, I'm going to be 100% cured and just well. So I'm going to be vulnerable. My different chronic illnesses, my chronic pain and fatigue and all this stuff that has happened to me over the last 8 years, it makes me feel like damaged goods. Therapy has helped me with this. But I'd be lying if I said that I'm not worried that someone's going to look at me like I am faulty or I'm broken and pack me up and send me back to Amazon on a refund. And that is a legit concern of mine and in insecurity. It's funny because, the thing that you would tell someone else, it's sometimes really hard to tell to yourself. If someone had said that to me, I'd slap them and I'd go, what are you talking about? You're amazing. You're beautiful. You're this and that. Your illness is just a part of who you are. It's not the whole thing. But because I'm so restricted as to what I can do, at least for right now, and I'm really hoping that does at least improve and change in the future. But because I can't do a lot, I can't do a lot like the other girls. I need to rest a lot. I'm not able to go out as much. I have to really be aware of certain things in case I get a flare up. I don't want to be a burden to someone, but I also don't want someone to look at me like I'm just damaged goods. And that's just me being real. So I'm saying this to myself, but I'm also saying it to you. You deserve someone who accepts you as you are right now, and not someone who is looking to fall in love with a future version of yourself. Now, I'm not saying that gives you an excuse to never change and to never grow and to never learn. No, you should be doing all of those things, as we talked about in a previous green flag. And it's important that they love you for who you are now and not who you might become, the future version of yourself. So those are my 10 green flags for finding your person. Did I miss any out? I don't think so. I'm sure I could add to the list, but let me know what some of your green flags are. I'm really interested to find out, so make sure you comment below. If you like my content and would like to support me, then simply liking and subscribing does wonders. But if you want to go the extra mile and share this video with someone who needs to hear it, then that would be amazing. Also, for those of you who are interested, I have just opened up a new Patreon, so I'll drop the link down below if that is one way that you'd like to support me.